All right, what's up, everybody? In this video, I'm going to show you how to get your first deal using driving for dollars method. I know this was very popular back when I was getting started in wholesaling, and I haven't seen as many people talk about it lately. So just wanted to make this video for anyone who's looking to get their first deal for relatively low cost. With this strategy, the only thing you're really paying for is the dialer to make the phone calls and your gas money, and then this software that I'm going to recommend called LandGlide, but it's only $10 per month. So you can get started with this for very cheap. This is how I got my first probably 20, 30 deals just doing this. And funny enough, we still close deals to this day from the list that I built a long time ago. So just to show you some of the lists I built, if I go on my Google Drive here and I type in D for D, which is what the abbreviation was, you can see that I used to drive for dollars every single week and did exactly what I'm going to share in this video. And you can see I'm still scrolling. These are all lists with hundreds and hundreds of people on them. If I open this up, for example, I can show you. But this is one of the most effective strategies to close wholesale deals. And like I said, it's very, very cheap. It's awesome when you're getting started because it lets you learn the market. And let's just jump right into it. This is taking a while to load, but you get the point. We used to drive for dollars quite a bit. These lists are all from back 2019, 2020, 2021, back when I was first getting started. But either way, I would recommend you sign up for this app, LandGlide. When you first sign up, I believe it's a 2-week trial. It's either 7 or 14 day trial. But either way, you just go on this website, LandGlide, and then you can go wherever you want. So I obviously have pins, a lot of pins in North Carolina. That's where we work currently. I live in Arizona, but we work in North Carolina. So it's very simple to use. I'll just zoom in here and show an example. This is on the desktop, of course, but they have a mobile app, which is great for when you're driving around. So literally all you have to do, let's say we were driving in this neighborhood here, we would, once you're in the car and stuff, you can just press this location thing and it'll pull up wherever you're driving and it'll just follow you on the map. So it's super easy to use. But literally all you would do, let's say you found this property and it looked run down. So signs of rundown houses can be boarded up. Obviously, that's an obvious one, but you're looking for some of the smaller signs too. There's a lot of people, they just will take down the ugliest houses, and those are kind of the houses that everyone's going after. So you want to look for the subtle signs, which could be stuffed mailbox, which is like if the mailbox can't close or if it's open and you see it's just absolutely full of mail, that's a good sign. If you see tall grass in the front or the backyard, that's a great sign. If you see tall bushes, of course, that's a good sign. Even if it looks like a decent home, but you might see there's patches on the roof, if there's a tarp on any portion of the roof, if you see the paint is peeling on the siding, stuff like that. If you see, like maybe if they have a carport, but it's really rusted over or something like that, or if they have a garage door that is open and it's just full of junk on the inside, that can be a good sign as well. Stuff like that. Or if you see, like, for example, if it's trash day and you're driving around, this is a really good one. If it's trash day and you're driving around and you see a couple properties that don't have their trash cans out, that might be a property that could be vacant or someone's forgotten about it. Or they could just be out of town. But if you see this, the things I mentioned with a combination of no trash cans being out at the curb, that could be an example of a vacant property or a good property to take down. So I really encourage people to be a little bit more broad when they're looking for these houses. Don't just look for the ones that are like fire damage, boarded up, and they look really, really bad because those are obvious. So kind of look for some of the properties that people might look past at first glance. Obviously, you don't want to be speeding through these neighborhoods. So you don't want to be like creeping through the neighborhood, but just kind of drive a little bit below the speed limit. Make sure you can go look left and right and just really get a bearing on all the houses in the neighborhood. And it's fine to drive through a neighborhood and then circle back through and go out the same way you came in. So you can see all the properties twice. But again, once you find a property, I'm just going to use this one here as an example. All you have to do with LandGlide is click this little pin drop here, and it's going to automatically drop a pin. You see that red dot? That means it's automatically dropped a pin. And you can do this on any property you want very, very easily. So again, all you have to do is click on it, drop a pin, and there it is. So you just dropped a pin on these two, for example. You would go into your saved locations here, and these pop up right there in your top two. So these are both saved locations. You can obviously change the color of the pins if you want, but none of this extra stuff is really necessary. That's why I like the LandGlide app, because it's very, very simple and it doesn't have a bunch of extra features that you really don't need to use when you're just getting started driving for dollars. Really, you just need an app that's going to help you keep track of all the properties that you've seen and easily export that data for you so that you can go ahead and send it off to skip tracing and get the phone numbers and everything. So also, you can take a picture. That can be useful if you want to remember the property. Like, for example, if one is really bad, like I mentioned, then maybe you want to take a photo so you remember it so that when you speak to those people, you can reference that. But I never did any of that when I was driving for dollars. I just would literally pin as many properties as I could find. And then at the end of every week, I would go into the Save Locations tab here, and you can just click Download All, and it will export all this data into a spreadsheet for you so that you can submit it to skip tracing. So the goal here is to get at least 100 houses per week, if not more. And I would recommend do as many as you can, because the more houses you get, then the faster you're going to get a deal. So I know when I was starting out, I was trying to do 100 at first. And once you get started doing it, you see kind of how easy that is, because you might find 10, 20 houses just in one neighborhood. So you can really knock it out if you just drive for maybe a couple hours on the weekend, or if you just do like 30 minutes a day, maybe when you're on the way home from work. You can knock it out pretty easily to get 100 houses in a week. And like I said, the more homes you get, the more chances you get to get a deal. And once you do get all the houses, like I said, pin all the houses, use LandGlide. I'd recommend signing up for them. It's only $10 a month. And then once you get all those records, you want to export all the data. I would recommend doing it on the weekend. Or if you're driving on the weekend, you could do it all at once. It doesn't really matter when you do it, but I used to drive all week. Then I would export and get all my data together on the weekend. And then I would send it off to skip tracing. Now, what skip tracing is it just provides you the phone numbers for all the records that you upload to them. So that way you can call them up or text them. I recommend a website called Direct Skip. I've went over that in a previous video a couple times. So if you want to kind of see it in depth, you can look at some of my previous videos. But it's super easy to use. If you sign up, you get 500 free records. So you don't have to pay for your first 500, and they'll give you phone numbers. But you just go on here, and you would just upload the file that you got from LandGlide here, and then they'll skip trace it for you, and they'll send it back to your phone number so that you can call them up. So after you get all your data back from the skip tracing, it typically takes like maybe an hour or so. Then I would just load it up in a dialer. So these are the 3 dialers I would recommend. Me personally, I used to use Mojo Dialer. When I was first starting out, it is a bit expensive. If you get the single line dialer, it's $100 a month. And if you get the triple line dialer, it's $150. And then you also have to buy phone numbers on top of that. So you could use Mojo Dialer. You could use this one called Kixie. I personally haven't used this, but I've got good friends that like it. And this has a 7-day free trial, which I'm not sure if Mojo Dialer does. So you could do Mojo Dialer, you could do Kixie, or you could do this one. This is what we use currently. It's called Smartphone Dialer. And this is $42 a month for the single line and $75 for the multi-line. So I think Kixie and Smart Dialer are both cheaper than Mojo. So if I was to do it over again, I'd probably use one of these two. And you can also buy phone numbers through Smartphone and Kixie and Mojo. So you can just sign up and buy the phone numbers all within one system, so you don't have to worry about combining multiple systems together. So then once you figure out a dialer, then I would just recommend calling your list up. You can call them on the weekend if you want, whenever you're available. It doesn't really matter. I would call during those hours, and then just try to speak to as many people as you can. Typically, the good contact ratio is anywhere from 8 to 12%, depending on where you are, how old your phone number is, stuff like that. If you notice your contact rate starts to drop below 8%, I would recommend you buy a new phone number or get some new leads in your list. Get some new Driving for Dollars houses in your list, because you should be at least 8% on a Driving for Dollars list. And so I put here, the faster you speak to 100 sellers, the faster you will close a deal. I know when I was first starting out, it took about 50 sellers to close one deal from a Driving for Dollars list. Now, that was a long time ago, and it's become more competitive, of course. So I would recommend setting your goal at speaking to 100 sellers as fast as possible, and then just do that again and again and again and again. So, for example, if you can talk to 200 or 300 sellers in a week, and that's talk to, not just dial, but talk to, you could possibly close 2 or 3 contracts in a week. So I would recommend setting that as your goal. The faster you talk to 100 sellers, the faster you're going to close a deal. And I said, alternatively, you can use Launch Control to text blast your list if you want, but I'd recommend cold calling just to get those reps in, practice talking to sellers, and it's just more personal that way. Everyone's getting text these days, so it's better to cold call and have that personal connection. Oh, and also I will leave a link to the cold call script that I recommend, just in case you need one. It's fairly simple what you're going to say to these sellers. You're just reaching out and seeing if they would consider an offer on their property. You can also add in that recently were driving in the area and you saw their property, but some sellers don't like that because they think you're like creeping on their house. So I'll leave a script that I use, or I used to use, and our callers use now, in case that'd be helpful for anyone. And then I left this here because this is also something I used to do when I was driving. So if you see a property that looks vacant and also run down, has some signs of wear and tear, then I used to leave post-it notes on the door or in the mailbox or both. And an easy way you can do this, instead of handwriting everything out, you could literally go on Amazon and just type in like customizable stamp or something. They're fairly cheap, and you can just type in exactly what you want it to say. And then you can buy that stamp and you can buy a bunch of post-it notes, leave that in your car, and every time you find a really rundown house, just stamp a post-it or two, drop one on the front door and one in the mailbox, and that just gives you extra chances to possibly talk to the seller. If they do come back and check on the property, they'll find your note, and not everyone's going to call you, but hopefully some of them will call you before you even get a chance to call them. So that's a bonus point. Make sure you put a phone number on there. Probably not your cell phone. I probably would buy a phone number either from one of those dialers I recommended, or you can use a website called callrail.com. So I'll leave this here as well. But okay, so you can use callrail.com to buy the phone number, or you can buy the phone numbers from any one of those dialing services that I recommended. And that's just for bonus points. You don't have to do that, but if you have a little bit extra money to spend and don't mind, jumping out of your car and dropping those notes off, that just gives you kind of double the chances to talk to those sellers. Or, even better, someone might notice it, a neighbor or somebody, and they might call you up. And sometimes that's a great way to get deals, when you speak to the neighbors, or if they see your note and they call you up, and they might have information on how you can reach the seller, what's going on with the property, stuff like that. So I would definitely recommend doing that for anyone who's really looking to get after it and get a deal even faster. And then this last part here is very, very important. So while you're doing all this work and you're talking to all these sellers, you're going to get contracts. If you do everything that I outlined in the top part here, you're going to get contracts. It's just inevitable. If you are adding 100 to 200 properties every week, driving for dollars, new houses per week, not the same ones. Obviously, you want to vary up your neighborhoods. And if you're speaking to 100 sellers a week, I would recommend you try to get to 100 sellers a week. That's going to really increase your chances. You're going to get contracts. And so this last part here is very important, because you don't want to be that wholesaler who gets a contract and then you have nothing, or you don't have any idea how to sell your contract, and then you're just wasting sellers' time. You're wasting your own time, and nobody's going to be happy at the end of the day. So in addition to talking to 100 sellers, you're going to want to speak to 5 new, that's important, new cash buyers or realtors every single day. So obviously, if you want, you can take weekends off, but I would recommend every single day. You could take Sundays off, but I would recommend at least 5 per weekday. So 25 new cash buyers or real estate agents every single week. 5 new buyers a day, or 25 a week would be the goal. And that way, when you talk to these people, you don't have to lie or act like you have a bunch of deals or anything. Just tell them the truth. Just let them know that you're out there, you're pounding the pavement every day, you're trying to get deals under contract, and you just want to have someone to pass those deals off to when you get deeply discounted properties in the area. And another thing that they'll tell you when you tell them the truth, tell them what you're doing, they'll tell you the areas that they're looking to buy in, and that helps you out because then you know the best neighborhoods for you to drive in. So you don't pretty much, as long as you're driving somewhere that's in a major metro area that has a lot of fix and flip properties going on, and you'll see them when you're driving through. As long as you're driving in a major metro city, you're not going to have really an issue when you lock up a property. But you just want to build these relationships so that when you do, first of all, you'll have people lined up. Second of all, they'll help you comp these properties, and they'll let you know like what they would be interested in paying for them, so that you already kind of have an idea of what you need to lock it up for. And that saves you a lot of time and headache comping a property, and maybe you lock it up too high and then you have to go back to the seller and they're frustrated. So this part is very important. Obviously, the first steps are priority, because you need contracts to be able to sell them to these buyers, but you also need buyers. So they go hand in hand. You can't do one without the other, and you're going to need buyers at some point, so might as well build those relationships early. And lastly, this is very important, You have to be consistent. You can't just do this for a week, take a couple weeks off, come back, do it again, take a couple weeks off. You have to be consistent with this. That's how you build momentum. And like I said, the faster you speak to 100 sellers, the faster you're going to close a deal. So if you can stay consistent with this for a minimum of 12 weeks, it's 3 months, and you can add 100 houses per week, talk to 100 sellers, then after 12 weeks, you've added at least 1,200 houses and spoken to 1,200 people. And so if you do that, I guarantee you're going to have multiple deals closed in that time frame. So that's pretty much it for today's video. I don't want to go too long, but I did want to give kind of a comprehensive breakdown on the best way, in my opinion, to drive for dollars to get your first deal or your next deal very quickly. And if you do these steps, let me know how it works for you. Hopefully you close a massive deal, and hopefully this is helpful. If you have any questions at all, you want me to make a follow-up video, I'd be happy to. And hope this helps. Good luck.